Okay, my name is Jeff Morgan. I'm here with Dad Talk today in Grapevine, Texas at the National Religious Broadcasters Conference. And I am here with Jerry and with Michelle Shelfer, is that right?
That's right.
Right. So tell us about what you do in your ministry, and I want to talk about a few things with you afterwards, but go ahead and tell everybody what you do.
Well, our ministry exists to cater to the needs of those who are hurt by abortion. There are a lot of people who have nobody to talk to about this very, very deeply affecting and traumatic event that may have occurred in their lives. Either happened to them, or maybe it was the father that let it happen, or maybe it was a friend who drove them, or a grandmother who didn't get to have a grandbaby. There are a lot of people who are affected by this scourge, and we're not into the politics of abortion. Our little niche in the pro-life movement is to really cater to the needs of those who are hurt by abortion.
So how long have you been involved in this ministry?
We started actually during the COVID.
Okay.
It sort of shut everything down we were doing.
Okay.
And then we looked at each other and we decided that God was leading us in this direction. She wrote a book that was published in September.
Okay.
And everything, we prayed the Lord, open doors or close doors. And that's the way we're going to get messages.
Right.
So He's been opening the doors for us.
Yeah.
And we're here at the NRB, and it's wonderful being here with you. We're trying to get the word out. Michelle also, if you notice, she draws these images one a day.
Yes.
She has over 400 now.
Okay.
And we're making a abortion memorial quilt, which is 12 feet high and 15 feet long. We're expecting at the end of the year it'll be 25 feet long.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to find sponsors and places to actually have this displayed, and we're going to travel the world.
When you say this display, are you talking about the quilt, or are you talking about perhaps making billboards based on the quilt as well?
Right. We're going to have this. I have a face program, which will be on billboards and New York Times, large magazines, and internet to draw attention to it. And we call these foundlings. And the
whole idea is to give a face to the faceless, because if we wanted to honor your life, we could take a picture of you and we'd have your face. But those 2 billion victims, they don't have a face. So I thought, well, I'm an artist, why not draw one every day? And so I took up that assignment, which seemed to be a directive from the Lord. I hope it was, and that I didn't misinterpret. But anyway, I'm doing it whether it is or not.
I saw when down at the computer downstairs, the faces kept on circulating through. And I think it's very important because people sometimes, the abortion industry, number one, it's based on a lie. It's based on deception, it's based on profit, it's based on murder. That's what it is. But we have to pretend that there are no human victims.
It's protoplasm.
Right. And once you give a face to the human victims,
that's what we're trying to do.
All of a sudden you see the great tragedy.
Yes, exactly.
Foundlings is the name given to babies that were left on a doorstep.
Wow.
Well, these are babies that were left on God's doorstep.
Right. Wow.
And so foundlings.net will take you to the site that shows the quilt and the Foundlings Project, which is a part of the ministry. Michelle also has a podcast, and she's an animator.
Teaching on post-abortion issues from a biblical perspective, and a Jewish biblical perspective, because I'm a Jewish believer in Jesus. And we also have a CD of songs that were composed and performed by us for ministering to those women, and as well as this, Jerry mentioned, this 4-minute animation called Broken. It's an award-winning animation that's also on our website, preparearoom.com.
Wow, preparearoom.com. And foundlings.net.
We'll also go there.
We'll also go there.
The foundlings.net. The reasoning, there's a dual reasoning behind the Foundlings Project. Firstly, we want to honor these victims. We're working with an abortion statistician who speaks of 2.654 billion victims of abortion worldwide in the last 40 years. But the second reason is more personal, because the person who's had an abortion not only has a sense of guilt toward God for having transgressed His laws, but also a very personal guilt towards the child that they aborted. And my little baby that I aborted, God used as an ambassador. That little life was not wasted. She drew me to the forgiveness of Jesus in a way that I couldn't get there any other way. So I'm hoping that all these faces, they're all different nationalities and races and colors, that they will draw others. We call them ambassadors of God's grace and forgiveness, and we hope that that's what they do for others.
So, I guess then you had to go through a healing process.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that, because people don't talk about the healing process that frequently. You hear about this is what you should do, this is what you don't do, but the healing process does not take place overnight, from what I understand.
It certainly doesn't. In fact, it can be many years or even decades before the woman and even the father as well begins to face the fact that this thing has been a dark cloud over their lives ever since that abortion experience. Now, for some, it really even is much more extreme and leads to as extreme as suicidality. But for many, it's just a dark, confusing cloud because there just isn't a path. There isn't a path. There's a path. If your mother dies, you know how to deal with that. In various faiths, there are traditions that you can talk to people. But what if there's nobody to talk to, and even your pastor won't talk about it? Well, I made a path. And it roughly resembles what I went through, but it's a 10-step path in the book that we present, and it has to do, I'll tell you what's at the very heart of it. The very heart of it, the 5th chapter out of 10, so it's really the heart of the book, has to do with learning to love in a new way. Because we let those children down, and we did not love them as they should have been loved the first time. So, of course, in Jesus we have second chances and third chances, etc. So we learn to love the way Jesus loves, which is that the greatest form of love is to lay aside your life for another. So we learn how to do that then for this child anew. The relationship can begin today. It's not the end of the story. You can have a whole new relationship with this child that's based on a new understanding of love.
So you mentioned it's not just the healing portion, though. It's not just for the mother, because in many instances there's a father that has had. There's grandparents.
It's very powerful because men have a prime directive, which is to be the protector and the provider. And a young man may have an experience with abortion and thinks nothing of it and trips the light fantastic and enjoys himself. But as he matures and he comes to grips with his life and his choices, I'm given to a quote of an unexamined life is a life not worth living. So a man, as he matures, will examine his life, and he will see the wrinkle in the matrix, so to speak, of his life and how he failed as a man. And in order to have complete healing, he has to come to grips with that. And we offer the cross as a way to find complete healing. And strangely enough, the first person who came and responded to the book was a man. Although the book was primarily toward women.
But I also I've just interviewed somebody a few weeks ago, and she said that she had 4 abortions, and she had also worked her way through this healing process and everything. But then she said she met later on 2 of the fathers that were still grieving because they never wanted to have the abortion. But she had the soul ability to do that. And she said, here she is, what does she say? Because now you have a father who says, I have a child, but I've never been able to see this child. And I even talked with a movie actor, very famous movie actor, about this situation. And he was just saying, I had no choice. I said, I would have said, give me the child.
It's so emasculating, really, isn't it, for a father who's butted out of this extremely important life choice. They are excluded as though it were only her business, and it really isn't. It's very much 2 people who came together to create life according to God's perfect design of life creation. And when that man is excluded, I totally understand why those 2 men would still be carrying that, because it's unfinished business. That woman needs to repent to them and help them go through their process as much as she's able.
And now you're putting a face to these children who are the preborn children whose lives have been lost due to abortion. There was a bill that I heard about recently, I believe it's in Tennessee, the fetal remains bill. And it's kind of the same thing, that at this point in time, they're saying that a child that is a preborn child that is aborted, they must give the child a proper burial. And that gives a way, it's not perfect because you still have no say if you're a man, if you're a grandparent, if you're an aunt or an uncle, if you're a brother or a sister, you have no say in the matter.
But it can be mourned.
But they can be mourned.
Yes.
It
also makes obvious that this is a human being.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't solve a problem, it brings a new awareness.
So, I mean, there's a lot of times that you hear about, I've read the statistic that 73% of abortions take place because of a financial need or something in a woman's life that says, I don't know if I can continue.
Yes.
That I would like to, but I feel like I'm trapped.
Yes.
And then you go to the abortion clinic and they try to convince you that you're trapped.
Yes.
And it's your decision. This will empower you. But it has the opposite effect, doesn't it?
It does. Women are sold a lot of lies about abortion, and one of them is that once it's over, you can just get on with your life.
Right.
Benign.
And that is not the case.
Right.
Because there's a wound there. There is a terrible wound there. And it may not surface. There's definitely a spiritual tearing and scarring, and it may not show up for a long time, and it may show up in strange ways, like Jerry was having dreams of a child that he couldn't reach. And for me, it's kind of funny. I'm an animator. I created this imaginary character,
right?
And she became like an imaginary friend. I never developed her into a story, but she was just always there, just always kind of hanging around nearby. And then one day it was like, oh my God, do you know who I am? I'm your child. And it was like I had created a way, my subconscious, I don't speak psychologies because I'm not a counselor and I'm not trained in that, but I can say that I wasn't yet able to face what I had done, but God found a way to keep my child, or I found a way to keep my child close to me.
Right.
The subconscious comes out.
Right.
And then when the day that I realized that I had done this, it was a day of revelation. That was really a day when that child seemed to say to me, you have nothing to hold back from receiving the forgiveness of Jesus, because I myself live in a land of forgiveness. You are forgiven. And then I was able to receive the forgiveness of Jesus because of that child. That child's life was not wasted.
Wow.
So we honor her with this ministry.
Yeah.
We don't know it's a her, but we think it's a her. We call her name is Melody. Chaya. Chaya is my mother's Hebrew name. Life. So she's our little song of life.
Yeah. Wow. So can I ask how long you've been married?
So is it 39 years in November?
39 years.
Most relationships do not survive abortion.
Yes.
Statistically.
Yeah.
But we bucked the trend. So
I proposed to her in the abortion clinic parking lot. And I didn't really know her, to tell you the truth, other than, a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
And being, from the South, that's I stepped up and did my duty.
Yeah.
And
we got pregnant again almost immediately after the first abortion, and that's where we ended
I want to mention something here, because if you basically did not know her, in our culture today, we says everything has to be based on love. I fell out of love. Love. And I think that actually, and I'm not saying that you want to have a marriage without that, but the reality is sometimes love is difficult. And the reality is that the idea of love in marriage is being the sole glue to keep the marriage together is not a historical idea.
Not necessarily a proven success story.
No. In fact, it seems to be just quite the opposite almost.
But that what is called love many times is other things.
Right.
Infatuation.
Right.
Sexual energy.
Right.
And love is like I'm an expert.
Yeah.
Well, we can speak from having gone through some really, really difficult times, and instead of saying, well, forget you, I'm out of here, we stuck with it. Because we had children, because I'm a child of divorced parents, and I don't know what your motivation was, except that we were going to make this work. And now we bear the fruit of that, the fruit of it, because it seems like the really tough times are behind us, and we get to just enjoy the pleasure of one another's company. And now that we're, we need to remind each other of this and that. Don't forget your keys, or where's my glasses.
I call it putting pennies in the bank of love. So love becomes large by slowly, over time, making deposits in the bank of love, and before you know it, you've got some savings.
And I want to touch on one other thing, because you mentioned it very briefly here, and we talked about the issue quite a bit, the issue of divorce, and people call family breakdown. Well, I don't know if that's an accurate term, because people choose to get a divorce. They can, there are situations that you might have to do so, but it's usually a choice. You can choose to stay married. You can choose to work it out. You can choose the most difficult of circumstances to say, we're in this, and it's going to last a lifetime. And so here, you're talking about the issue of abortion, but many times right now in our country, we have people that, because of divorce laws, which are very easy, a parent can be kicked out of a child's life. And do you have any comments about that? Because obviously you both found ways to reach out to this child that was not born. And yet you have people today in our society, they have a living child, but the courts have ordered him out of the life, or somebody's made false accusations. Any comments about that?
That's a whole another world.
I think that the bottom line is that children need fathers and mothers, and that if you're going to be in the business of tearing down the image of God, the beautiful humanity that God created in His image, you're going to want to tear down the family, because that's where the individual is nurtured by father and mother together.
And it doesn't make any sense unless you understand that there's an enemy which is trying to tear down the family. If otherwise, it doesn't make sense why it's happening.
Marriage was created by God. Family was created by God. And that is where the attack is right now.
That's right.
It is.
And
in transgender, in everything, it's all over, many fronts.
And now, if people want to learn more about your ministry, because if I remember correctly, you talked about more than just the I Have a Face. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, if you want to very briefly tell us about the other issues that you discuss, and also how people can follow you, how people, if they wanted to help support you, can do that. Feel free to do that for a few minutes here, and then
you want to talk about the Quilt project?
Well, we are at preparearoom.com. Our CD is Prepare a Room as well, and it's on iTunes and Spotify. If you go to preparearoom.com, you'll see all of our resources. You'll also see our vlog. There's lots of ways that you can connect with us, and of course we need your support, because we cannot do this alone. So anybody who is moved by the Holy Spirit to plant seeds into this ministry, we would love that. We'd love to see the quilt to continue to grow. We're talking 25 feet, possibly by the end of 2021. Jerry actually visualizes it as a 30-foot in diameter round with 1,000 faces that you walk into there and just have, if you've ever been to the Holocaust Memorial Museum, it's that kind of feeling, that kind of idea.
Memorial.
And we want to have billboards and put these faces out just to give the humanity and the sense of personhood to these victims, so that the idea is, let's stop taking their lives, let's give them a chance to live, and let's heal those who have been hurt by this scourge.
Well, thank you very, very much for sharing this story with us.
Thank
it's a
you
story
very
that,
much
that we don't get to hear a whole lot, but it's what you also hear too, is that there's a love of a father and a mother, even for a child that was not born. And that love for a father and a mother needs to be directed at the children, and the children needs to know that the children can love both parents freely.
Yes.
And thank you so much once again. It was a great pleasure to meet you and to talk with you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.